Nap Sports and Nap Records.
Sure.
Now, is that two separate things?
Two totally separate things.
Okay.
Nap Records is a record company, independent record label. Started in 1980. The concept started in 85, believe it or not.
This is all you.
This is all me. The concept started in 85. Just wanting to get into the entertainment business and loving music. I've always wanted to be part of the music business. So I was you're talking 85, I was a senior in high school. So I knew sooner or later I wanted to try to dabble into that business. Now, years later, that concept became a reality in 1996 when I was introduced to a young lady by the name of Tracy. My stepsister, Lisa Miller, introduced me to this girl who had about 5 books worth of written songs. I was like, man, this young lady is talented. I really couldn't do anything for her at that point because I was still trying to do things for myself. And the strangest thing happened. My first agent knew BB and CC Winan very well. So Tracy had this demo that she worked on. She got me the demo. I got it to my first agent at the time, and he let BB Winan hear it. And he went crazy over it and said, this girl is talented. So one thing led to another. When I retired from playing football, I got my first job on Wall Street through a good friend of mine, and I met Russell Rosenthal. And Russ always wanted to be in the business as well. So Russell actually financed Nap Records. So we went, got a good attorney, got all the paperwork done. And Nap stands for the first 3 letters of our last name, you know, Napoleon. So I was always pretty good at marketing. So NAP, how could you forget that? It's so easy to remember. So that's where the record company piece came from. Tracy did her first album. We released it in latter part of 96. And lo and behold, 6 months later, it went gold. It sold 500,000 copies worldwide. Now she writes all of her songs. So on that first album, she wrote, I want to say 10 out of the 13 songs in that album. And I did my little research in the business to understand that you need to own what you write. So she started her own publishing company. So every time her record was played on the radio, she got a publishing check because she owned the rights to it. Every time it sold in the stores, she got a piece of it because we owned the company. So, and I was smart enough to go in negotiate back then, which was one of the bigger distribution deals, you know, in the music industry, a 75-25 split where we kept 75% of the dollar because I did the distribution deal with a direct company that distributed her music in my company worldwide. So in all the major chain stores, we had a 75-25 split. So that worked out pretty good, I must say. Worked out pretty good. And where Nap Sports came, where that materialized, from being in the music business, going out and doing a lot of speaking engagements and doing BET and all that stuff, people kind of saw me as this you know, younger, energetic, you know, bright, smart, intelligent mogul, marketing all of this stuff because we had the Naya. My wife's stage name is Naya, NY''A. We had the Naya T-shirts, the Naya, you know, we had the Nap record jackets and all of this stuff. And people were thinking, well, wait a minute, if this guy came out of seemingly nowhere, an independent company who broke into this business and overnight, you know, this Naya chick has 2 number 1s, a number 3, a number 8 on the charts. Wait a minute, where'd they come from? So a lot of the magazine interviews turned into a few of the TV interviews, turned into a few of the things on BET, which made me a little bit more well-known. And that was all marketing. That was all marketing. So a lot of my friends who played, when I retired, they were still playing football. And they would come to me and say, hey man, I'm trying to get this done, you know, could you help me out? My agent is not doing this part. He's only doing my NFL contract or my NBA contract or my European deals. He's not doing the marketing promotion, the everyday marketing promotion stuff. Could you get me some endorsement stuff? And just picking up the phone, making phone calls, that turned into, you know, maybe I got an endorsement for this guy over here. I took 10%, maybe I made him $100,000. I got an endorsement for this basketball player over here. And that turned into, well, wait a minute. I need to start Nap Sports. It was a natural progression. And then we went and did the paperwork for that. And my biggest client back then was Sheryl Swoopes. I got an opportunity to represent Sheryl Swoopes for 4 years. of her career. And that took off in a different direction, because once you work with Cheryl Swoops, then everybody started knocking on the door saying, hey, you know, well, could you represent me? Could you do marketing promotion for me? Could you do this? Could you do that? So Nap Sports has been around since '98. So, and to this day, both businesses are still live, but in different ways. I no longer do the physical distribution of records. Now we do everything digitally. So I have a deal with one of the biggest digital distributors around the world. And because downloading music now has outsold the actual physical copies of music in the regular chain stores. So now we do everything digitally. The Nap Sports piece, I only deal with select people. It's just become, over the last 4 or 5 years, so difficult. At one point I had 25 clients, you know, and it's tough. It's tough because it's myself, 3 attorneys that are pretty good, very good attorneys, but when you're working every day and you're doing the school stuff. Now, with my son going through the recruiting process, you know, it's more time to make sure that he's on point. With my wife doing the music stuff, I needed some sort of balance. So I said, you know what? I started letting my clients, pretty much let them know that I'm only gonna have about 4 to 5 clients. And over the last 4 or 5 years, that's what I've been doing. So, you know, I mean, it's fun, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It's been really good experiences. A lot of work, but really good experiences.
Who are you representing now, sports-wise?
I don't know if you're familiar with, you remember the company And1?
Yeah.
Main Event is still my current client to this day. Shane the Dribble Machine is still my current client. I had Shamika Christian, who plays in the WNBA. It's kind of funny now. Amy Hung, who's a professional golfer, I co-represent her with Richard Beer, who's one of my best friends. He's also one of my attorneys. Carlene Hightower, who plays professional basketball overseas. And I may pick up one other client. I'm gonna wait and see what happens with this particular player, and it's an NBA player, so we'll see what happens with him. But just to do the marketing promotion, you know, I'm not gonna go and the NBA contracts and all that stuff. They're not too difficult to do, but when people are paying you a sizable amount of money, it's almost like you better be on call, and I don't want my life to be on call 24/7. So it's a little bit easier when you're just doing the marketing, promotion, and endorsement deals. You just do the deals and you get paid for what you do when you get out. So I think I'm going to end up probably with maybe 6. That'll be about the max that I do.
How do you balance everything?
Tough. It's tough. Usually priorities come when I get home from school, go right to the computer, check in and see, you know, who's hitting me up for either Main Event, Shamika, one of my other clients. I'll check. That's the first thing I do. Make phone calls, answer back emails, and put it in priority. You know, at that particular point, you know, who has a deal on the table that's a pressing deal. If it's an endorsement deal, make sure we tie those things up, you know, first. I have something right now with a very reputable company that we have to get done here within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And that just came on the table maybe a month ago. You know what I mean? So I'm diligently working to get that deal closed. So it's just setting your priorities, making sure, I take a lot of notes, a lot of sticky pads to make sure I don't forget what I'm supposed to do here, here, and here. And I really do have a lot of good people. Like I said, Rich Beer is one of my best friends, and he keeps me on task a lot of the times. My wife is incredible. Tracy is incredible. She keeps me on task a lot of the times, and I don't take on too much where I'm forgetful and I don't get a chance to close out one deal before I start working on another. So that's once again, make your strong points you make your weak points your strong point. I used to get to the point where you're so overwhelmed, you're working on 3 and 4 deals and they're all open at the same time. So about 10 years ago, I've learned my lesson on, okay, I can't take on 10 or 15 deals at the same time. Let me close out this one, and then we move to this one, then we move to this one. So staying grounded just means staying on top of everything that I have to do.